with a national record. Could we set one more record in the 4x8? 8:43.70 held by Penn State in 1997 is the college 4x800-meter relay event record at the Penn Relays. 27 years of history have withstood the test of time, and we've got a whole lot of teams, 15 in total, that are going to toe the line to try and make some history of their own. 8:43.70, we're going to need to see 2:10 high per split, something that isn't otherworldly for college ladies, but again, like we talked about with a lot of relays, finding 4 runners that can do it is the big challenge.
Right, and we saw we called the 4x15 earlier, and that race was tight for a while, and then there was some separation, and then it was over like that. This race could be eerily similar to that.
There is no wheel at stake, but we got Norfolk State, Brown, Monmouth, Adelphi, Johns Hopkins, UConn, Fordham, Monroe, St. Joe's, Albany, Wagner, VMI, Marist, Delaware, UMBC, and Georgia Tech. That is now 16 teams showing up and showing out, moving in from their alleys. And handoffs, they're more so emphasized in these shorter relays, but we got to revisit this topic, Will. Look at how many teams are together right now. If they hand off right now, it's absolute chaos.
Exactly, we saw that in the boys 4x8 earlier. If it's a tight race, and these girls say they run 2:12 and there are 5 or 6 girls there, then you got to pull them out. You don't want to hand off right then. You don't want to not get out, and you and your incoming runner kind of collide, and then the same thing happens next to you on your left and your right. You want to get through that line and then get off to running your leg.
Norfolk State controlling the inside, but they're going to be passed up by Georgia Tech, or will they? Georgia Tech on the outside. They seem content to stay right where they are on the shoulder. Don't want to do all the front running duties by themselves. UConn on the inside. Norfolk shuts the door on GT.
And about 127 through 500 meters, and that is pretty comfortable. That's why everybody is still in contact.
Looking for those sub 2:10s to get close to that 8:43 meet record, with now 200 meters remaining on the opening leg. Still keeping that pace going?
Yeah, it's still Norfolk State holding on to this lead, pressing the pace. Georgia Tech right there, possibly biding her time until she comes off the top of the turn.
G-Tech. Some big-time runs for home coming here. This is Johns Hopkins.
Yeah, Johns Hopkins swinging off that curve and to the lead.
Down the stretch comes Johns Hopkins, handing over into the second leg. Great finish by Annie Huang, who had a good leg in another relay that we saw yesterday.
Annie Huang from Austin, Texas, just a freshman, I believe. Maybe a sophomore, but the 800 was her race, and she was also talented in the 400, about a 56-second quarter mile.
This is the 800, of course, so unlike the DMR, which we saw yesterday, the 400 runners hand off to the 800 runners, but here it's all half-milers, similar tactics for each leg, but it all really depends on what race or what shape the race takes, as we've now got just 7 teams remaining up there out of the original 16.
And we have fellow Ivy Leaguer Brown now up to the front with Georgia Tech. Right there, the Rambling Wreck.
Bears on the inside, looking good with Scarlett Stimson, who was a former high school state champion out of Vermont, out of SXVT. With 1 lap to go on her second split. She ran about a 63 high through her first 400.
And that group of 7 has pulled away from everyone else, and we ought to see some more separation on this third 200 of the second carry. Brown still in the front, pressing the pace here, but Norfolk State there right beside Georgia Tech, moving into second.
Past the Yellow Jackets goes Norfolk State. Brown only remains in front of them. St. Joe's opening up that stride into 5th to 4th. Stuck on the out exterior, though. They're going to need to get inside, and you could see Johns Hopkins shuts the door on them.
And this first group of 7 or 8 is now 3, maybe 4 coming off the turn as Johns Hopkins can keep contact. Adelphi there, I overlooked them. They're there in 3rd.
They've been right there for all of the movement that's happened over the past half mile and 2 laps. 2 laps for the 3rd legs now as Norfolk State reclaims the lead.
That's that exchange zone that we're seeing that you were talking about a little while ago, Carson.
You got to give credit to Scarlett Stimson for accelerating the pace for Brown, making it a 2:10 race, bringing Adelphi through with a 2:08. You know, you have runners that can go sub 2:10 probably all across the track, but that common theme of going with the flow, sometimes it may not necessarily be ripe to go out in that pace.
Right, no, sometimes this is a race, so you don't want to just go out and control everything. When you're racing, you have to be a little strategic. You have to plan and strategize when you want to go, where you want to go, and that changes what might be in your mind to what is actually in front of you during the race.
Brown right there on the shoulder. Johns Hopkins in 3rd ahead of St. Joe, followed by UConn. They've gotten back up into the top 5, followed by Adelphi. And then Johns Hopkins, they're still hanging tough there in 3rd with Georgia Tech, the last remaining member of that top 7 that has now become a top 2 and chasing 5. Norfolk State and Brown battling it out.
And I'll say the best way to call this race is very similar to, like I said, the 4x15 and the 5K from last night. It is very fluid. A lot of changes, a lot of directions, and teams coming up, moving back. But this is, like you said, Norfolk State and Adelphi, Norfolk State, excuse me, out of Virginia, and Brown, not Delphi, Brown.
Brown out of Rhode Island on the outside once again. Norfolk State starting to struggle a little bit as they've now fallen back into 2nd. Johns Hopkins now ahead of the chase back, followed by Georgia Tech. And then UConn. But coming around the final bend, getting ready to hand over into the final women's 4x8 anchor here at the 2024 Penn Relays. It is Brown University, followed by Norfolk State in 2nd. They're going to have to hold off Johns Hopkins, though, as they head into the final carry.
And Brown is the 7th oldest university in the nation, but they're first in the 4x8 right now.
Nice. And look at this lead that they've now opened up. We're going to get a great view of that in a moment. All the other teams handing off. There's Monmouth, Fordham, but just have a look at that gap right there. Brown has opened it up, and Norfolk State's got to play catch up here.
Yeah, they do. They got to play get on your horse and go, because here comes Georgia Tech.
The Yellow Jackets move past Johns Hopkins. Norfolk State still right there in front of them with Brown on the pole, looking comfortable out front. They're anchoring with Emily Marakovich.
And they're doing Ted Turner proud right now. But the race is not over. Brown needs to hold on as Georgia Tech is closing that gap. Norfolk State going right along with them. And if Brown doesn't get it going soon, it is going to be more of a race than she's going to want.
Reagan
1 lap
Mahoney
to go.
Putting the pressure on for GT. Adelphi still there in 4th in the black top, followed by Johns Hopkins and UConn. But we got a 4-girl race now. Norfolk State making a huge move on the outside, back in front where they once were, and are going to want to remain. Yvonne Sandui, but here comes Marakovich back on the outside, reclaiming the lead with less than 150 meters to go. Another back and forth move. How about this from Norfolk State? And this move looks to be a lot more decisive this time. Is anybody going to catch Sandui?
It looks good, and it was effective at the moment. She's going to have to hold on here. Brown, I liked how she battled her and responded to the move, but that decisive move, as you said, might have been the chess piece.
Brown now in a battle with Adelphi for 2nd, and now Norfolk State in a battle with the lactic phase, but they're still pulling away, pushing through, and they are going to be your collegiate women's 4x8 champions here at the Penn Relays, 8:52. And how about that anchor, a 2:11.02 to close it out. That 2nd and 4th leg, a difference maker for Norfolk State. 2:10.9 and 2:11.02. Great win overall.
Yeah, Norfolk State, and HBCU coming away with the win here at Penn. They're not too far away over from Virginia, so right around the corner, coming here, getting this win, taking it back home.
The Spartans are victorious within 10 seconds of that event record, too. Let's watch that progression of the race one more time. There was that big finish by their opening leg, Leanna Lewis, giving her second leg, Jamae Wyatt, a real chance on second, with Kara Grant and Yvonne Sandui bringing it home from there. Here's that final exchange. Marakovic, she was running for Brown, and she brought them home for second, but there was that move that really opened this race up. She tried to come back, but there was that second move. You always got to think 2 steps ahead.
Yeah, and when Brown met that first move, I thought it was over because of the surge that she put on so early. But that is a strong young lady, and that's why her coach has her on anchor, because you could trust her, and maybe they knew they had another gear in her to match that.
So some post-race smiles. We've got the fans still here, getting ever closer to our climax here at the Penn Relays.